the roof is assembled. The walls are completely assembled as well. So what we did now is we anchored the foundation, or these rails, the foundation rails, to the concrete slab with these nuts over here. Now this was chosen as the last step wisely. I mean, the instruction book told us to do this because during the assembly process, you know, all of these walls and everything, as you tighten all of the nuts and the screws, may shift to the rails and may bring them up just slightly on one end or so, or they may just sort of move like this. And so it's best to not anchor this until you're done assembling all the walls and the roof, and then everything's tightened. And now you can also tighten, and then you can also tighten the whole shed to the concrete slab and be done with it. And now the only thing that's left to do are the doors. So that's what we're going to start doing. Right. Well, here's the progress with the garden shed. The doors are still not assembled. We're going to do that shortly. We would have been done a day earlier with this thing, except Arrow, the company that makes the garden shed, didn't give us enough of these machine bolts and the nuts. So they gave us 23 less machine bolts than we needed and 20 less nuts than we needed. So we had to go get some extra from the store, and we were delayed by a day. And of course they gave us more of these than we needed. So, and more of those longer sheet metal screws than we needed. So, you know, you'd think for a garden shed that costs, what does it cost? Retail price $1,700. You know, you would think for a shed that cost that much, they would have bothered to count their screws correctly, but I guess that's not important enough, is it? Okay, so we finished assembling the garden shed. We did the doors this morning. You wouldn't believe how much of a hassle it was to assemble those things. It took almost as much as the roof in terms of the time and the effort. And those stinking door handles. Anyway, this is the masterpiece. Okay, so here's the problem that I see with this garden shed. Not only the fact that it's very flimsy, and I don't see anything different in the construction of it that makes it hurricane resistant as opposed to other garden sheds I've seen on the market. Well, maybe those cheap plastic ones, yeah, those wouldn't be hurricane resistant, but honestly I don't know what makes it so special. Is it the healthy anchors? Because I could have bought healthy anchors for another garden shed that was less expensive and less troublesome to put in. I find it ridiculous that I had to build that foundation, lay that incredibly thick foundation down there. This is a foundation fit for a house, not for a flimsy garden shed. It's just unbelievable. And granted, ours is a little higher because the ground was slanted, so we had to come up about 7 inches more. So it's a foot and some above the ground when it's normally supposed to be 6 inches, but still, this is insanely ridiculous for a foundation, for this flimsy metal thing. And the other thing that I found annoying is, and I really should have paid more attention to the specs, because if I had, I would have realized that this was going to be too short for us. So here's what happens. I stupidly looked at the specs for the garden shed where they said it was about 6 feet, and I figured, oh well, 6 feet, I can get right in, no problem. It's 6 feet of an inch or something like that here. I don't know where exactly 6 feet is, because I'm 5'11", and I don't know. But look what happens when you try to get in. You see, I can't even stand up straight within the shed because I'll knock my head against the ceiling. And if I forget the duck when I come out, well, you can just imagine what happens. So it's like the garden shed for the 7 dwarves, you know. It's not meant for humans. I don't know what to say about this, but We bought it, we poured the foundation, so we spent a few days putting it together, so there it is. We're stuck with it. Let me close this up. Such a hassle to close. Come on. Close, you dumb thing. Okay. What is this? Close now? That doesn't want to close now, so I'll have to troubleshoot that. I definitely wouldn't recommend that you get this garden shed. Unless you care for pouring this foundation, this really thick foundation, and spending a few days putting it together and then running to the store because the company forgot to include enough screws and bolts and to go with it. And then of course knocking your head on the doorposts every once in a while, or the door lintel or whatever that's called. If you don't mind that, if you want to have a dwarf-sized garden shed in your garden on a foundation fit for a house, feel free to go run out and get this thing. Well, at least we've got a good foundation, and if this thing ever rusts, which I'm sure it will in a few years, we'll just tear it down and build a cinder block garden shed, you know, a proper one with a nice roof and tall enough for us to get in without any problems. So the foundation is laid, you know. Look at the bright side. Okay, so the next step is going to be scheduling the final inspection, the final building inspection. That's going to be tomorrow. I'm confident that we'll pass. I mean, I don't know what anybody could find wrong with this thing. I followed all of the instructions. The foundation is much bigger than it needs to be, so we should pass without any problems. Okay, so we passed the final inspection today, which means we can begin to use this thing. And that's just what we're about to do. Thanks for watching.